What is up, NFC West football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC West Roundtable powered by BetUS. Week 1 is in the books. We're turning the page to Week 2. Tonight, we are previewing all of the Week 2 matchups, including an interdivision matchup. That's what makes the Roundtable so great. These matchups right here, when the boys actually go head-to-head. Jake is facing off against Mike this week. And Jesse gets to enjoy it from the sidelines, at least. He doesn't have to have any visual.
You know what, the Philly shell? Like, how are we doing this thing?
That's the question, right? Especially when right now, and we talked about this on our last episode, but I'm going to bring it up again just because for those who might be thinking based on the Rams' recent history and the Cardinals' recent history, you might be thinking, oh, this is a game I'm going with the Rams on. Go ahead and take a look at BetUS right now, fellas. It's very interesting. The line right now has the LA Rams as a dog. Both these teams coming off of very narrow margin losses last week. In fact, both of them lost by 6. Both went right down to the end. This interdivisional matchup in Arizona is only a 1-point game on the spread right now on BetUS, with the Cardinals being just a slight favorite. If you want to get in on that game, use the promo code YouTube150 right now on BetUS. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. That's going to be a fun one, fellas. I think that with the way the Cardinals looked this past week, the way that the Rams looked despite all the injuries, McVay's going to have those guys ready to rock, next man up mentality. Wouldn't expect much of a step back from the Rams this week just based on how great they were this past week. We'll talk about that game last because I want to get both of you guys going back and forth on it. We'll start tonight with Jesse. Jesse, huge win on Monday Night Football for the Niners. And when I say huge, it's not that, nobody thought the Niners were going to go in there and win. They were favored to win. It was at home, and I think we all expected the Niners to win, but it was the way that they did it. They destroyed the Jets on both sides of the ball, and really a 32-19 final was not even indicative of how much of a blowout it really was. A late drive from Tyrod Taylor in garbage time. The Niners really took it to the Jets, and now they go on the road, and they face a Minnesota Vikings team that this past weekend, I know it was the Giants, but my goodness, Sam Darnold and the Vikings, that was supposed to be a close game. They destroyed the New York Giants. And Sam Darnold in the first half, 13 of 14, maybe the best game he's had as a pro. Going to be a lot harder for him this weekend, though, against these Niners. So, Jesse, you look at this matchup. Vikings look better than we predicted last week, but it is still a team that's going to have some growing pains, especially without their rookie quarterback that they were hoping to get things going with off on a good note. How do you look at this one on the road, Niners going into Minnesota?
I have to respect the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, this is a team last year, although led by Kirk Cousins instead of Sam Darnold, that got up and beat the 49ers. 49ers came into that game a little bit banged up, coming off of a loss to the Browns, and I thought, there's no way they're going to drop 2 straight. Minnesota on the road, Justin Jefferson at that time had already been out. Minnesota shouldn't have won that game, and they did. I mean, they came out and they were fighting. And this is a really well-coached team, both offensively and defensively. I have a lot of respect for the Minnesota Vikings, and they're a formidable foe. But listen, week 1, they played the Giants. I have personally no belief in Sam Darnold. I watched him be a backup last year for the 49ers, but I've watched him for many years. I mean, this guy has been a turnover machine since college. He's been a turnover machine in the NFL for the Jets, the Panthers. Even last year, the one game he played, he had a turnover. This year, the one game he played, he had a turnover. A lot of credit was given to him. It's like, see, finally, he just gets good coaching and he's good. I mean, what do you expect? His teammates like him and he's always been talented. It's like, well, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. The Giants might be the second worst team in the NFL, for one. For two, he started out great. He started out like 10 for 10 with 2 touchdowns and what have you. But then after that, he goes 7 of 11 with an interception, right? Like, Sam Darnold is who we thought he was. He's not a great football player. He's just not. And I think the 49ers defense is going to expose him. He'll probably have at least 2 turnovers, and I think he'll be the reason that they eventually lose the game. I think that Minnesota, if McCarthy can be their quarterback of the future, then I think the future might be bright there. They've got a good young offensive line. They've like I said, they're well coached. The defense, very, very well coached. I mean, not the most talented players, but Flores always has those guys in a position. Last year, they wreaked havoc on the 49ers offensive line with all the simulated blitzes they had. And then the moment that you thought that they were going to blitz everybody like they had been all game, they drop everybody back in coverage. Purdy throws a late game pick. It's not going to be easy to move the ball up and down the field on this team because that defense will come to play. They're going to play very, very hard. But ultimately, I think the 49ers are just the better team. Even though Minnesota's at home, I'll go 27-13 49ers.
Jake, how do you see this one unfolding? I think obviously the Niners are the better team. Vikings look better than advertised this past week, but at the end of the day, there still is a wide gap between these two teams.
Yeah, I want to bring up something that I saw. I think it was on Pardon My Take. I think it was this guy. He was like, so one of the comments was Daniel Jones played bad enough in another country. He would have been beaten to death by baseball bats. Like, so it was along that. I think it was maybe hammers. I don't know. It was hilarious though. And obviously I want no harm on Daniel Jones, but I had to mention that to kind of set the tone here. We're not giving the Vikings the credit. They have to actually earn that. So no one should pick the Vikings to beat the 49ers. If the Vikings beat the 49ers, then we can have the conversation. But no one should be picking. And look, I have all the respect in the world for Kevin O'Connell. All the respect in the world. What he was able to do last year, winning those games with just nothing at quarterback after Cousins went down, impressive. But Sam Darnold is still nothing. Like, let's be honest here. Like, I wanted him to be something really badly. I loved him at USC. He looked like potentially a can't miss quarterback at one point. It didn't work out. And can they, I guess, manage a game with him potentially, because Aaron Jones is maybe the most underrated running back in football and they have Justin Jefferson, but I'm concerned. Like, Jordan Addison's probably not going to play and TJ Hawkinson can't play because, Kirby Joseph is dirty. So, I think the issue here going into this is that we're really just banking on the Vikings to have a really strong defense. And they would have to win the exact same way the Bears beat the Titans. And they would have to score defensive touchdowns. And I don't think Brock Purdy is just going to throw the ball carelessly into a defender's hands. So I think the 49ers win this game 31-13. I don't really seeing it being close. I think the defense will at first look really inspiring. The offense is just going to be running around in circles because look at what they did with the Jets offense. The Jets had plenty of weapons. And right? Aaron Rodgers, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, right? Those are good weapons. A new and improved offensive line. So we thought. It didn't do anything. They lost 32-19 it was? Yeah. I forget the actual score.
Yeah, 32-19. Yep. Late score.
Yeah. So it'll be around that. I don't know why it would be any different. Maybe it'll be worse because the Vikings, no, it'll be about the same because they're on the road. But the 49ers are one of the best 5 teams in football. And I don't think I had the Vikings winning 5 games. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Crazy stat about that one, by the way. Aaron Rodgers completed balls to 3 players in that game. That's how dominant the San Francisco 49ers defense was in that game. So, Mike, we got 2 victories predicted already for the Niners. I got a feeling you're making it a third. Do you think it's as big of a margin of victory for the Niners as the rest of the guys think?
Yes. I don't know what else to add other than what these 2 gentlemen added to it. I think that the Vikings are going to come in here and obviously kind of, go on their high horse here, but the 49ers are a completely different team than the New York Giants. The Giants are in shambles. New York is in shambles. The Jets, as well as the Giants, are in shambles. And Sam Darnold is not the answer. He's going to be a good placeholder. And I don't think the Vikings are really expecting much this year. I think they got a really, good win. I guess I wouldn't say a good win, but they got a win under their belt. Good for them. But now time to play some real football against these big boys here in the San Francisco 49ers. It can definitely get ugly. I think that prediction that Jake had was exactly what I was thinking as well. Somewhere around the realm of 30 to the teens. And I like that 13 number as well. It's going to be an absolute domination. And, I feel bad for the Vikings. I really do. They're going to think that they're going to be competitive, but I think when they come back to play football with these guys here, it's going to be no brainer. They're going to lose.
Norb couldn't join us this evening, but we still got to predict some Seahawks football. They got a big victory over the rookie-led Denver Broncos this past weekend. And they're taking on a team. You want to talk about a surprising victory. I know it might have been a bit surprising the way the Vikings beat the Giants. It wasn't surprising that they beat them. The shocker of the weekend, and that includes like Notre Dame going down in Northern Illinois. I mean, this was the shocker of the weekend to me. 16-10, the New England Patriots beat Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati, a Patriots team that some would argue might have been the worst team in the league this year. Now, of course, they could still wind up being that, but you looked at the Cardinals you looked at the Panthers this past weekend. You looked at the Giants this past weekend. Neither of those teams were beating Cincinnati. New England did. And now Seattle has to go on the road to New England and play these Patriots, two teams that are built on defense. If you like defense, I got a feeling you're going to like this game. Jesse, I'll start with you. Seattle takes that road or that victory from Denver on the road to New England. Both these teams 1-0. How do you see this one kind of playing out?
Yeah, traveling west to east, early game, that usually spells a lot of trouble for West Coast teams. And I think one thing we learned about New England, I don't know how bad they're eventually going to be or what the record ends up being, but we do know they're going to play hard. And that was a question. Like, you lose Bill Belichick, what does it look like going forward? You trade arguably your best defender, at least your best pass rusher, very versatile player. And yet here they come out and they're playing really, really good football very early on, beat the fighting Joe Burrows in a shocker. So yeah, I mean, the Patriots are going to play that at the very least. And I think what we saw from Seattle is that offensively, even though the play calling is better, Geno Smith can kind of hold this offense back a little bit. And that could happen again in this game. I don't see either team getting over 20. Whatever the under is on BetUS, I would say hammer that. And I'll go with the same score, but I'll go in inverse. I will say the Seahawks do find a way to get it done because their defense is no joke either. And I just think there's just not enough offensive weapons for the Patriots to score consistently. You hold Ramondre Stevenson in check, and I think that should be enough for you to be able to get it done. So, like I said, same score, 16-10, but this time the Patriots are on the losing end.
Just to clue you in on how much of a defensive battle this is expected to be, over-under of 38, the lowest.
Yeah, I'll take the under
league this weekend. Jake, do you see this being a defensive slugfest? And if so, who do you think winds up getting out of here alive?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this for anybody that does Survivor, take the Seahawks at your own risk. I mean, I took them over the Broncos. I said it'd be a blowout. I'm going to own it. They did not blow them out. They should have. I mean, that was one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever seen. Bo Nix looked horrible, but we knew that. We knew he was going to. This game, I don't know who's going to win. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I kind of lean towards New England here. At home, defensive battle. I watched Joe Burrow. I mean, he completed like 20, I think it was 20 passes for 164 yards. They really did a nice job of limiting what the Bengals could do. They had no answer. Well, one thing I really like about New England is that they have Ramondre Stevenson in this game. And I think that's going to allow them to hold on to the football, make things easier for Jacoby Brissett. To Jesse's point, very fair. They don't have a lot of proven weapons. Demario Douglas wasn't really utilized. I mean, the leading receiver on the year for the Patriots is Austin Hooper. I mean, come on now. He's got 31 yards on 2 catches. How is that your leading receiver after a game? Are we for real? Am I looking at this wrong? Maybe I'm looking at this wrong.
That game made no sense. That was the funniest
I mean, that can't be real. It can't be real. But anyway, that's my point, is that it's a lot of unproven guys. You know, you would think maybe a Jalen Polk eventually down the road this season gets things going. Demario Douglas is kind of their, explosive weapon. But yeah, I'm going to take New England because I think it's literally going to be a defensive slugfest. And I think they're going to get like a return or something to win the game. Like, honestly, I think it's literally just like that close. I'm going to take an ugly one. Let's see. I'm going to go with Ooh. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I advance 17-12 New England.
Wow.
Oh, I like that. 12.
Sounds about
That's a
right.
good one.
You're kind of seeming to predict a Bears type victory here for New England, where nothing happens offensively, and you're like, "There's no way they just won that game." It's exactly what Chicago did this past weekend against the Tennessee Titans. Mike, your thoughts on this one? We're all thinking this one's going to look like an Iowa football game to some extent. Well, who do you think wins the football game?
Man, I don't know. Me and Jake usually don't go eye to eye, but I agree with him as well. This is going to be one of those games that defensively, it's going to be ugly. Jacoby Brissett versus Geno Smith. I mean, that doesn't get it's not exciting. It doesn't sound very good, but I think these defenses are going to need to come out here and play. And seeing what the Patriots did to Joe Burrow, and I think Joe Burrow's, top 10, right? I mean, this year is not looking so great. Now, granted, yes, he doesn't have T. Higgins. And yes, he doesn't. He's got Jamar Chase, but I don't even know if he's playing fully or not. Contract stuff, whatever. But what they did to Joe Burrow is really amazing. And I'm going to lean on the fact that I need Seattle to lose to go back down to earth, just for my own sanity. Can't have them 2-0. It'd be crazy. So I'm going to go over with the Patriots winning this game. And it is at their home, so we'll give them credit there. I'm going to say this game is going to come down to the Patriots winning, I would say 12-9. Yeah, very low game.
Sounds like a high-scoring day at Yankee
Nice.
Stadium right there. I know Jake covers the Yankees. That sounds like literally a nice afternoon at the ballpark. A 12-9 final, says Mike. This game does have that written all over it. I can't lie. But
man,
we're talking to the people who are going to actually watch this game. That's Seattle Seahawks fans. Good thing you guys are tuned in, because I'm not sure if the rest of America is going to be tuning in. But hey, like I said, if you love defensive football, that's the one for you right there. If you love the NFC West, then this next game's for you. And it's between my boys right here. It's between Jake and Mike, the first interdivisional battle of the game of the year. And it's coming against two teams that both are 0-1, but both could have easily have been 1-0. If you looked across the league in week one, these two teams probably had the best losses of the weekend, because you can walk away from it with a lot of positives. And you also know, hey, a couple things go a different direction. That game was ours, and it's a long season. You got to like how you looked in week one. So, Jesse, I'm going to start with you before we get these guys' side of things. The first interdivisional battle of the game, the Rams go to Arizona as a 1-point dog, carrying all those injuries into a Cardinals game where Kyler Murray looked good this past week. They were going to want, you would think, to emphasize Marvin Harrison Jr. after he was on a milk carton against the Bills. How do you see this one going? Who ends up taking?
Man, this is God, dude, this is such a tough game to pick. It really is. The Cardinals are going to be tough in all these games, and the Rams are so beat up. The Cardinals are at home. I mean, honestly, there's probably not a reason for me to pick the Rams, but I'm going to. I mean, just on paper, there really isn't a big reason to pick the Rams with injuries and home game and all that. But I'm going to give you two reasons why. Listen, I might change my mind by the end of this. I'm not going to lie. This is a really, really tight game. But let me say this. The Rams' offensive line is super, super banged up, okay? That would be a problem if you were facing a team with a formidable pass rush. But the Cardinals, that is the one thing they don't bring to the table. And so it's like, can they even exploit what's at hand with the Rams and all these injuries? I mean, a lot of teams would get after Stafford, and it would be a long day, and he just wouldn't be able to get the ball off, and it'd be understandable. I don't know that the Cardinals can do that. And if you give Stafford time, you're going to get picked apart. You just are. And I look at the beginning of the schedule for the Rams, and this team has Super Bowl aspirations. They know damn well they cannot start 0-3. They just can't do it. And they've got the 49ers next week, and they're still going to be very, very banged up, although healthier, presumably, as long as they don't lose a bunch of guys in this game, presumably healthier, but still very, very banged up. There's a good chance, and they know there's a good chance they lose that game. They cannot start 0-2 in the division. They cannot start 0-3. A team that has won a Super Bowl, knows how to win in this league, versus an upstart team that is trying to figure out how to win. ultimately, I just think Stafford and McVay are enough to get it done. I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Cardinals either. Kyler Murray is a handful, especially early in a season. There is no preparing for guys like Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray. It just isn't. And so I think they're going to be able to put up points as well. I'll go 30-27 Rams, but I easily could see the Cardinals winning this game. I really could.
Yeah, this is going to be a great game. Just watching Kyler Murray this past week, it's like you said, it's similar to Lamar Jackson in the fact that, man, containing that guy, it is just annoying to watch. Like Patrick Mahomes is slippery. Josh Allen will run you over. Kyler Murray, man, it's like a little go-kart. It's like chasing a go-kart you would drive around on your floor as a kid, and you can't grab it. It's crazy. The guy moves like nothing I've ever seen. And that's the opposite of what the Rams played this past weekend in Jared Goff. What the one thing that I thought the Lions did well towards the end was run the ball, and it seemed like towards the end the Rams struggled to stop it because they were gassed. But early on in the Bills game for the Cardinals, they were having success running the ball with James Conner. They kind of went away from it. It felt like the Cardinals kind of bailed a little bit from what was working early on in that game, and it did end up going south. Mike, I'm going to start with you. Speaking of those Cardinals, a lot of good the Cardinals did against the Bills this past week. Some stuff you'd want to clean up, including getting Marvin Harrison Jr. involved. And probably, I would imagine, the way that they were running the ball and the way that they were scheming up James Conner in the pass game, I feel like they might want to go back to that as well. It was working really early and often in that game. Overall, though, you're going into this Rams game, an interdivisional game, off of a pretty damn solid performance for the Week 1 standards. So looking at it, you look at these Cardinals against a banged-up Rams team, 1-point favorite. How do you see this shaking out in Arizona?
I'm not used to being a favorite, and I'm not used to hearing Jesse, be this tight with the game with the Cardinals. So I appreciate it. I'm actually really excited just for that alone. But man, this is going to be an exciting game. And I said this here in Jake's channel, because we ended up doing a collab a little earlier. We got two teams with the back against the wall. Like, this is going to be a very, very good game, a division game. And I get it. Sean McVay has had the Cardinals number for a very long time. Don't look at the win to loss ratio. It's ridiculous. But man, this is going to be a very, very good game. I can definitely very well see the Cardinals leaning very heavily on the run game, and it is effective. I think James Conner is a very, very solid running back. And it can work. It's just we need to be able to also include those explosive plays with your wide receiver. And I think that's one of the things that the Cardinals missed in this game versus the Bills. And although we were scoring with special teams and, the defense was doing their thing in the first half, and then it kind of completely got away from them. Let's call it this. And I'm curious to figure out what you think here, Zebot. Like, the Cardinals defense was getting pressure. They just couldn't wrap up Josh Allen. That was the problem because of how dynamic he was. The Cardinals were getting back there. I'm not going to say we're a top defense. No, I'm not saying that, but I think we were applying pressure. It's just Zach Allen is Zach Allen. He's crazy. So I'm curious to figure out if we are able to contain a less mobile guy like Stafford. I think we have a little bit more to say as terms of this defense can be, I'm not going to say top 5, top 10, but I think they can be average as long as we can get that down and bringing those guys down, especially like a guy like Matthew Stafford, which, I mean, I'm not going to say he's slow. He can run out of the pocket as well, but he's not a mobile guy. But I think the Cardinals could definitely win this game. We just got to make sure that we get our wide receivers involved, get a running game going, and continue to be a run heavy, led by James Conner type of team. Let Kyler Murray get busy. Speedy Gonzalez, right? It's really hard to contain him, especially when he's on. Get Kyler Murray, the connection with Marvin Harrison Jr. going, Michael Wilson going, Trey McBride, for the love of God, going. And I think this offense can be very good, and the defense can be just enough to win this game. I don't think we're going to blow anybody out, honestly. I don't think this defense is suited like that, but I think we can get the job done. I would say the Cardinals win this game 28-23. Cardinals win.
I'm sure some of you guys probably just saw me cracking up, and the reason for that is we have got to stop going on Twitter. I think we all have Twitter in the background on this, and we'll just see something on the corner of our eye. For some reason, we have all just become, all of us, I don't know what it is, but we have become Daniel Jones. I don't know what it is. We just sit around laughing about Daniel Jones all day. And Jesse just sent something hilarious, and then I look over here and I see this one. By the way, I don't know why this division has nothing to do with Daniel Jones.
Oh my God.
But
Poor Daniel Jones.
Here's another one, by the way, and it's just endless. It's endless. So there's this one right here, asking the tough questions: Daniel Jones or Danny DeVito, and then Jesse.
Oh my God.
Jesse sends in a meme, and it's how to build the worst possible QA. That was one of the funniest things I've seen in forever. So for those who thought I was laughing at Mike's prediction of the Cardinals beating the Rams, I wasn't, because hey, I was almost on the side of a loss against these Cardinals a couple of days ago. And the point you made, Mike, I agree with wholeheartedly. It's one of the things I had said on my show after that game. Going into it, I thought the biggest discrepancy between these two teams was going to be the Bills' offense's ability to just shut down the Cardinals' defense. I thought the offensive line that the Bills had last year, a top 10 offensive line going against this Cardinals team, was going to have their way. I was impressed by the Cardinals' ability, especially early on, to at least throw Josh Allen off. No, they couldn't get him on the ground. Very few can. It's really tough to do. But you saw it. The leading receiver for the Bills was Keon Coleman with 4 receptions. They were not slinging the ball over the field, and that's because Josh Allen didn't have a whole lot of time. Who was slinging the ball all over the field? I mean, as far as attempts was concerned, probably the highest of the weekend. I'd have to go and look, but I don't know if anybody outdid Matt Stafford in his 49 attempts. Felt like 40 of them went to Cooper Kupp on Sunday night. Jake, talk to me. The Rams looked really good against a team that probably should have played in the Super Bowl last year in the Detroit Lions.
Jesse didn't like that.
Jesse, by the way. Jesse would much rather have the second half comeback, I think, than me throwing a little bit of salt on that. But regardless, Jake's Rams might have something to do about it, Jesse, by the way. They might be able to get rid of the Lions for you and then clear the path.
Make it easier. Yeah,
exactly. Jake, it was impressive. I understand all the injuries are a factor, and I understand the Lions have probably, I would say unarguably a top 5 roster in this league, and somehow with a banged up team, to say the least, the Rams were a coin toss away from winning that game. So how do you view this one against the Cardinals team that McVay has had an umpteen amount of success against, a 1-point dog, which is interesting? Talk to me about how you see this one going down.
Yeah, it's interesting. Underdogs, but like normally they care about like how, everyone knows, those giant streaks where a team just doesn't match up well with another team, or like the Colts, they haven't won the first game of the year in like 11 years. You never make the Colts even if they should win, you wouldn't make them the favorites, right? Well, I have a lot of notes in front of me here. So I apologize, Mike, but I'm about to eviscerate your point. All right, here we go.
Jake, I just want to say, by the way, what you just said reminded me of Bane in Batman when he goes, "Do you feel in charge?" That's kind of how the vibe I get with the Cardinals being the favorite in this game a little bit.
So I agree. So first off, 13-2. That's the record the Rams are against the Cardinals in the Sean McVay era, the last 15 games. The last time the Cardinals beat the Rams in Arizona, you have to go back to 2014 when they were in St. Louis. The Rams were in St. Louis. They lost to the Arizona Cardinals. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that might have been the year, that might have been like the Patrick Peterson punt return. But either way, regardless, that's that. Kyler Murray against the Rams all time. Okay. He's got a 62.8 completion percentage. He's got 8 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He has an 81.2 passer rating, and he's sacked at least 3 times a game. That's okay. So they've sacked him 24 times in 8 games. James Conner, who I thought was a Rams killer because he always finds the end zone. To be fair, that matters. James Conner averages 3 yards per carry against the Rams. So then we go back to what Mike and I were talking about, on your show, on my show, Jonah Williams. Because if I'm the Rams, I'm like, hey, Jared, do you want to play where Jonah Williams is supposed to be? Because you're just going to get look at Gregory Rousseau. He had 3 sacks last week. Do you want 3 sacks? Michael Hoyt, do you want to play there? 3 sacks? Jesse, do you want to play there? 3 sacks?
That's disrespectful.
So the point I'm making here is Like who? Like and you mentioned there is a guy that's there who's actually played. Is it Hubbard or it's the other one that played for the Steelers? I'm totally blank out his name.
Talk about the guy who's going to be if Jonah's not there.
Yeah,
Kelvin Beachum.
Yes. See, I got those two Steelers former tackles mixed up.
Okay.
Yeah, Kelvin Beachum. You said he did not look good.
He didn't.
The one thing I'll say about the Rams defense is that they were getting pressure, but they were doing as much as they could going up against Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow and Kevin Zeitler, right? Well, this offensive line, I think we could see quite a game out of Jared Verse. I think we could see quite a game out of Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner, Byron Young. So I think that's a big issue there. I think this game is going to be close, though, guys. I do. But at the end of the game, when it is a 2013 ball game, Matthew Stafford and the Rams are going to go down the field and they're going to score a touchdown and make it look like it wasn't that close for the people that didn't watch the game. So the final will be 27-13. I think, and this is me assuming that the offensive line is somewhat healthy. I mean, it sounds like, Kevin Dotson, the right guard who, left the game or left the stadium after the game in a walking boot. Sounds like he's going to play potentially. Rob Havenstein might play at right tackle. Warren McClendon Jr. would just kick in at left. You still have Jonah Jackson and Bo Limmer played inspiring football at center. I don't think that's a bad offensive line. And even without Darius Williams at corner, they looked really good against the Lions, holding Amon-Ra St. Brown to 13 yards. So I think that despite the fact that I'm not predicting Kyren Williams to go off in this game, because I can't guarantee that the run game will be there. Sean McVay even said, when the guys went down, we scrapped the entire game plan. It was done. They were just deciding things on the fly. They had a great game plan coming in, and they had to completely can it. In this game, I'm not even going to say Kyren Williams goes off, which he always does against the Cardinals. I'm just going to say that the Rams play a very similar style of football game as last week. Maybe they are able to run it a little bit more and feel a little bit better about long developing plays because they're not going up against Aiden Hutchinson and they don't have a pass rush like Jesse brought up to really worry about. But these are still NFL players, and I don't want to discredit Arizona and act like they don't have pass rushers. These guys can still, anyone can get after the quarterback on any given play. It's why they're in the NFL. It's the guys that do it consistently, like an Aiden Hutchinson, that are the guys that you worry about. But everyone is capable of having a nice rep. So I'm going to take the Rams 27-13. And I think the Cardinals fans, after the game, they're going to be upset. They're going to realize, look, 0-2, and we just played against two guaranteed playoff teams. And, it's only going to make you better because now you're going up against those teams. The teams that you lost last year against, you're going to probably whoop, honestly. So I would not want to play Arizona. I don't really want to play Arizona, to be honest with you, but I feel good about it because of the pedigree that the Rams have going up against them, especially in Arizona. But I think this is definitely a team that I have them winning 7 games. May not sound like a lot, but it's the stepping stones, guys. Like, it takes a little bit. You could see them next year. They could have 11 wins. That's the way the NFL works.
There you have it. Week 1 in the books, and we already got our previews out of the way for week 2, including an interdivisional matchup. And I cannot wait, fellas, for next week when we get to recap that one. Listen, I know you got a double-digit victory, Jake, and I think the rest of the boys had it a bit closer. Vegas is thinking that's a 1-point game, so hopefully we're in for a doozy that we get to chat about next week, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you want to tune in for that next episode, and why wouldn't you? Of course you would. Hit the like button on your way out, subscribe button as well so you get notified about that episode. And then with that 1-point spread, I keep bringing it up because I just think it's kind of wild. I mean, shout out to the Cardinals. I think that was earned, not given. Yeah. Do you feel in charge? If you feel in charge, go ahead and go over to BetUS. 150% sign up bonus using the promo code YouTube150 up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. All right, we'll see you on the next one. For Jake, for Mike, for Jesse, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Can't wait to recap week 2 with you next week. Peace.